Scanning for audio.
Hello and welcome to the Tin Dog Podcast number 75. This week I've been receiving a lot of emails about two, well, fairly connected things. The first one is, who do I think should play the 11th Doctor? Now, I'm just some bloke with an audio blog that happens to be reasonably popular. Well, let's face it, you're listening to it. But if you want to know my opinion, I still think Michael Sheen would make the best 11th Doctor we could possibly have. His acting range is fantastic. If you want proof of that, watch Underworld, followed by the BBC's Rome. That's Rome the documentary series, rather than the HBO special, where he plays Nero, and is just superb. He has the darkness that Tom Baker used to exude, and can turn on a sixpence like Chldren. He also has the youthful good looks that appear to be required for the role these days. Of course, you could just cast left of field and do some sort of fairly well-known but not too well-known, i.e. not Alan Davies, comedian. The other thing I've been emailed about, of course, is this week's Children in Need special.
Well, I'm standing right here. Hello.
Don't be stupid! Who are you?
I'm the doctor.
Doctor who?
Just the doctor.
Well, there can't be two of you. Where the hell have you been?
Right then, don't worry. Stand back. What have we got here then?
Hold on, who are you?
I'm the Doctor. Simply the Doctor. The one, the only, and the best. Rosita, give me the sonic screwdriver.
What?
Now, quickly, get back to the TARDIS.
What's the what?
If you could stand back, sir, this is a job for a Time Lord.
Job for what, Lord?
Oh, that's new.
I've got a few thoughts on this, and I suppose I should start off by talking about this now, rather than the review, which I'll be doing in a few moments, BBC 7 Audios. I'm assuming that most of you have seen the 2-minute Children in Need clip, basically the first 2 minutes of the Christmas special, everything that's pre-title. That will be with us sooner than you think. I mean, let's face it, it's kind of, 5 weeks till Christmas? That scared you, didn't it? I guess you'll be going shopping quite shortly. In all fairness, odd people have got all their shopping in. Have you got yours? Let's leave it there, and talk about Doctor Who just a little bit more. First off, as we know, the story is called The Next Doctor. Now, a lot of people, a lot of fans, alright, people on forums, they are real people too, you know, have been saying that it's a bit close to the Big Finish audio The One Doctor, where someone is pretending to be the Doctor. Now, fair enough, someone is pretending to be the Doctor in The One Doctor, this is the audio, but they're doing it for nefarious reasons. They're con men. In this story, I think it's something more subtle, something odder, something more narrative based. The guy could indeed be the 11th Doctor or the 12th or one of the Doctors to come, but some things are against that, and let's face it, we have only seen 2 minutes, so talking about it at any great length is really just conjecture. But let's face it, you're a Doctor Who fan, you want to talk about it, go on. First off, our Doctor, the 10th Doctor, arrives in what seems to be Victorian England, except it doesn't quite look like any of the other versions of Victorian England that you've seen anywhere else before, and I refer you back to episode 2 of the 2005 series. It's too clean, it's too bright, it's too kind of nice and sunny. And the snow for the first time in Doctor Who doesn't really look that much like snow, it really does look like something out of a foam machine. Now that could just be my eyes or whatever, so let's let that one go and say that it's not quite right. Whether it is snowing or whether it isn't snowing, we can just let that go. But it's the general look of the place, the cleanliness, the way that some people have longer hair, some things which are written on walls, all manage to conspire to give the feeling of a living museum rather than, say, genuine Victorian England. Not that, of course, I've been to genuine Victorian England. My own pet theories about Doctor Who and museums will be covered later on in a different podcast, Battlefield, which is coming up very, very shortly. But let's not get ahead of myself. I am leaning to thinking that this is more of a Doctor Who-based theme park. Yeah, that's probably me reading far too much into it. But when the companion, Rosita, starts screaming, and... I'm sorry, did you see her hair? It could be her real hair, just like Gwen's hair is her real hair and just happens to look like a wig. But it did look very much like a wig. The costumes are very, very clean. And the Cyber Wraith Spectre, or whatever it's called, thing that comes through the door, it looks like a man in a suit. Now, I know Doctor Who has a long tradition of aliens looking like men in suits, so, again, we can't read too much into it. But isn't it too clean? Isn't it too respectable? Then, of course, there's the 11th Doctor, who I'm calling the 11th Doctor. Whether he is or not, we'll find out in 5 weeks' time. He looks as though he's overacting. Now, this guy can act exceptionally well. So, like in Family of Blood, where Tennant had to pretend to be the Doctor, pretending to be a human, pretending to be a doctor, this was an actor pretending to be the Doctor, pretending to be the Doctor. So whether he is or not, we can come back to. It reminds me in many respects to an old audiovisual, where someone had gone mad and believed themselves to be the Doctor, and was acting just like him. Again, let's not use old plots. It could be a brand new story, and let's face it, it will be. It's the first time it's ever been used on screen, and I, for one, am really looking forward to it. There is the small things of the screwdriver. He asks his companion for the sonic screwdriver, what, as if he doesn't carry it himself, which is fair enough, it could happen. He declares himself to be a Time Lord to an almost stranger. He doesn't recognise the 10th Doctor, which I suppose the 5th Doctor didn't do. So there's definitely what I can only call a rabbit off somewhere. The one thing I do wonder about is, of course, that last word he says. Yeah, I'm not completely sure what that means. I believe it means let's go, but it's just odd. I'm sorry I keep fixating on that screwdriver, because it is, if you zoom in, just an ordinary screwdriver. It's not a sonic screwdriver. Oh, you see, have I spoilt things? I don't know. I'm just talking, I'm rambling, I'm talking about something you've seen. And if you did watch it, I hope we all give to children in need in some small way. If you haven't given to children in need just yet, there are links on the BBC site, where of course you can see the trailer one more time.
I am not alone. I am not alone.
And now, a series of excerpts from the recent podcast of Just a Doctor Who New York Minute. Viewer discretion is advised.
This is Just a Minute. Now, the rules of Just a Minute are I'm going to give our contestants a subject to speak on for 1 minute. They're going to try and get through that minute without deviation, so they can't deviate from the subject, any other kind of deviation. Repetition, so they can't repeat words or any hesitation, and they will try and catch each other out. So you have a minute to talk on the fires of Pompeii.
The fires of Pompeii are a gynecological problem caused largely by...
Is that deviation? I like the way he's going, so I'm not giving you a point.
Does the audience not like me?
No.
No! It's not just the audience, love.
Your subject is that boardwalk trips up in episode 6 of The Keys of Mariners.
How many seconds do we have?
8 seconds. Take you that long to say the time. String it out.
No, you don't.
How do you know?
You don't remember.
Yes, I do.
That's TV.
Oh,
that's
shut up.
TV.
Give us not employed. No, I was there. You have no way of knowing
That's a
this.
fictional character.
Yes.
A repetition of problems.
And a
Okay,
deviation.
yes, that's true.
There's no problem. There's no medical diagnosis. I'm sorry, I can't see you tonight because I've got to put ointment on my curse of the Daleks.
To play devil's advocate for a moment,
Yeah.
if you were a Dalek, you might say that.
But he's not. He's actually honestly human. I mean, he looked like that, Ross.
That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
You can find the full version of this and our future podcasts at www.dwny.org.
The other mind has now left.
Moving swiftly on, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Paul McGann audios that you can hear on BBC Radio 7. BBC Radio 7 is a radio channel available digitally. That's through a DAB radio or even online. With it being online, you can use the Listen Again option as well. The BBC 7 audios are an odd creature. They started live last year, taking the 8th Doctor beyond the end of his time with the Big Finish standard range and into their own new range. They gave him a new companion, Lucy Miller, different at that point from Charlie, closer to Rose, but we'll discuss her in a moment, and took them on 8 new stories. Well, I say 8, it was actually 6 because 2 of the stories were two-parters. Originally they were broadcast on BBC Radio 7 and then they were released on CD for people to buy who liked collecting that sort of thing. They were released by Big Finish because obviously they were made by Big Finish. This year it's the other way around. The CDs have come out first over a period of 8 months, and now they've been made available free to those of us who have the equipment to download and listen to at our own listening pleasure. Again, 8 episodes, but this time 7 stories, the last story being covered by episodes 7 and 8. They're calling this Season 2, and we might as well continue doing that. Season 2, BBC 7. It's simple enough to remember and we might as well go with it. So let's think of this as Lucy Series 2. That way you've got all of your other 8th Doctor stuff on CD that you don't have to worry about. Lucy and the 8th Doctor are extremely good. They're a slightly more jovial version of Rose and the 9th Doctor, in the sense that Lucy is about the same age as Rose and is of a working class origin. However, she's from, well, what most people class as the north of England. I'm from Newcastle, and I would have to drive for 2.5 hours south to reach where she's from. And I know everyone who lives in America is thinking, what's that 2.5 hours? That's just an ordinary commute. Yeah, England's a tiny country, and we take our north-south divide very seriously. Guess what? I've rambled. This series starts off with Dead London.
Geronimo! Gentlemen of the jury, take note of the criminal carriage of this fellow.
Blimey! Your face, it's... You never seen a canary before then?
Was there ever such a villain on the face of the earth?
Now look, you've made a terrible mistake.
Doctor, the Wicker Man!
A waterfall! Hold on!
You will be taken from here at such a time as deemed convenient to a place of execution where you will hang from the neck until you are dead.
You must have me confused with someone else.
It was meant to be the 21st century, not the pig in First World War!
Of all London's lost rivers, the Fleet is the one most associated with evil. Anyone who fell into its filth usually suffocated.
Phew, I'm not surprised, it stinks.
That's a dead end, dear. I can hear every move you make. No one ever escaped blind here.
Oddly for me, Dead London is perhaps the weakest of this entire series, and that's not to say it's badly made or badly thought out or even badly written. It is extremely good. It requires you actually pay attention to the audio because it is, or could be, a little bit confusing, especially for a first-time listener. It's atmospheric, but feels kind of rushed given the small 50-minute format. However, the second release, Max Warp, is a superb episode. Comedy gold.
Strap yourselves in, engage thrust and prepare for Max Warp.
You are one rubbish date, Doctor.
What?
This! It's all boys with toys, isn't it?
Boys with toys?
Alright, middle-aged blokes with spaceships.
Altitude 800 miles! 600! Show me, Jeff! Jeff, help!
Are they trying to start a war?
They are great little gadgets, aren't they?
Calculating.
There are spaceships, and there are spaceships.
Help! Help!
There is no way out.
What, no escape pods? What sort of spaceship do you call this?
And then there are spaceships.
Who's the guy with the ball patch and the tight jeans?
It's beyond that now. The kids will interpret this as an act of war.
I'm gonna get the doctor. He'll know what to do.
Oh my god. I never thought I'd hear that again.
What is it?
A battle readiness alert means only one thing. We're at war.
Don't worry about me, go!
Now, for those of you who live in the UK or indeed around the world, may be familiar with the British TV programme Top Gear, where 3 rather overzealous and quite enthusiastic men talk about cars. Some people may be familiar with Richard Hammond from the recent Children in Need special, where he did a crossover with Life on Mars. Here we have ex-Goody, Graham Garden, taking on a role a little similar to Jeremy Clarkson, while James Fleet takes on the slightly duller, more technical role, while the hamster, Hammond, is changed over for a character called the Ferret. It's a thinly disguised parody, because it's not about cars. This story is about spaceships, and let's face it, that's the only difference. But this story actually works on many levels, not just as a parody of a popular TV show. It's funny, it's well observed, and extremely well written. Following on from Max Warp, which admittedly doesn't have the greatest title, but as Top Gear, Max Warp, yeah, you see where they went with that. They obviously had nowhere else to go with the title. Brave New Town, for me, the one that follows on from that, is so great. It's the highlight of the whole series. I don't want to spoil it, I just want to recommend you go out and get it.
White rabbits.
Best before October 91.
She is Lucy Miller from famous English town of Blackburn.
Blackpool.
She set fire to it. The little minx.
Does rubbish usually glow like that?
Lucy Miller, you genius. You found the Nestine Energy Unit.
And the doctor?
I think the doctor should stay on as our scientific advisor.
Sunset across the shore? What more could you ask for?
Some sea?
I'm sick of that bleeding tune.
I can't understand you, Mr. Rabbit. Where am I?
Ah, I get it. You're the replacement.
Replacement for what?
I don't care if it's the Women's Institute coming over that hill. If they're armed and dangerous, I'm blowing them up.
Come closer to your place of origin.
It's desolate, deserted and dusty. You do pick 'em.
I certainly do.
I don't want to tell you who the villains are. They are a recurring Doctor Who villain, and it has the feel of an old Avengers episode or even a Sapphire and Steel. Written down, the plot is quite simple, but to experience it as it's happening is extremely good. It's got some fantastic casting as well. Following on from that is episode 4. Now this is the Skull of Sobek.
Light and darkness burning in one.
Lead us not into perfection, for never and ever.
O great skull, keeper of our past and future.
There are places where the universe comes close to perfection.
Yeah, but nothing's that symmetrical. You don't have to do my eyebrows.
Guide your world through this time of tumult.
Absolute, your guests are a danger to the sanctuary.
Accept this offering. Restore the balance.
What is it? Show me.
They're here.
You're all being killed off, one by one.
There'll be no fighting in this sanctuary.
Doctor!
Who's there? Who wants me?
Hand over the skull.
Liver.
There's something else there too, in the water.
I hear you mention contagion. Perhaps I can be of assistance. I'm a doctor, by the way, and this is Lucy Miller, my disciple.
Doctor, am I getting all used to it? Dead people. Because I don't want to do that. Ever.
Written by Mark Platt, that's the guy responsible for some of the best Doctor Who, including Ghostlight. I must admit, the Skull of Sobek was not my favourite either, but perhaps that's because I was expecting a lot more. I do prefer his more recent work on Time Reef, which was a direct-to-CD Big Finish audio with the Fifth Doctor. The Skull of Sobek has a religious order set in a world of perfection. It also has crocodile men, and I'm not quite sure of the audio treatment of them, but like I often say, any Doctor Who is better than almost anything else. Grand Theft Cosmos, which follows on from even that, sounds as if it should be the audio about cars and about spaceships, which is why I often in my head get them mixed up with Max Warp. Of course, Grand Theft Cosmos is actually about a grand theft, yeah.
Oh, look. What? There's the Doctor and Lucy. Where? Don't look now!
When he's bored of his artists, he goes out onto his balcony and eats them in front of a crowd.
Blimey, Charlotte! Come on out!
out!
Good grief.
What is it?
The statue, it's moving. In fact, it's moved.
I thought you were dead. Who told you that? No, I'm super. Never been better.
I think it's time you backed off, Doctor.
What could we do? I'll think of something.
What the heck? It's punching its way through the room. I must have misheard. Yeah. I mean, after all, Karen's dead does sound a lot like Karen's in Sweden in the late 1890s, doesn't it? What's that noise?
I can't let it fall into the wrong hands.
But he's going to recognise us. Just act casual.
In fact, I can't let it fall into any hands.
Oh, look over there. What?
His works alter the fabric of the world around.
I just suddenly came ever terribly faint.
They have a malign influence on people.
The guard out, pick the lock. Can't believe I fell for that.
It's only a matter of time before it spills out into our universe, causing a collision of matter that will certainly kill us all.
So, what are you saying?
We're gonna steal it first.
It has the returning character of the Headhunter. The Headhunter, I really feel, works tremendously well with the Eighth Doctor. She's focused and funny in a way that Delgado's master was. Her relationship with her companion is just as well thought out as the Doctor and Lucy. The remaining two stories of the series, the Igon who fell to Earth and then the Morbius double, round off a superbly well-crafted series. First off, the Igon who fell to Earth.
Oh, look at this place. Fizzy water, linen tablecloths, cut crystal. I thought you said Auntie Pat didn't amount to much.
I'm just as amazed as you.
It is marvellous to see you again. Hideous fetus-like warlords from the deepest, murkiest fathoms of space.
Doctor.
Enough! Why won't you die?
Trevor!
Yeah? What is it? I was having a snooze back there.
What the hell was that?
A giant sea monster?
Of course.
We have succeeded in unleashing the power.
I've seen this before.
Who are they?
They're called the Zygons.
Very distinguished music industry people.
Music industry?
Oh my God!
Almost but not quite a comedy story. The Igon who fell to Earth deals with a Zygon who has decided to go native to adapt themselves into human society. But it also deals with some of Lucy's backstory. Now, unlike the TV series, where we deal with the soap opera aspects of the characters' lives, especially Rose, we're dealing with some characters who happen to have been in Lucy's past, and also we happen to have met them while time travelling in the last series. It's more of an echo, a story arc. You don't need to have heard the first story, which, for those of you interested in finding out, was called The Horror of Glam Rock. That story, just for fact fans out there, had Bernard Cribbins in it, and if you're a big fan of Bernard, nip out and get this one. Well worth a listen, especially for that version of the Doctor Who theme tune that they use over the end credits. Where was I? Ah, yes. The Zygon who fell to Earth has the sort of green issue discussion that we've come to expect from Doctor Who, and that's not a bad thing. The casting is superb, down to the point of it having Tarrant from Blake 7, who I didn't recognise at all when he was speaking, which comes down to a great performance. It also adds a lot to the Zygon mythology. Admittedly, some of the other Zygons are played more for comedy than for menace, but you can kind of forgive it for the 50-minute format. The last two stories, the Morbius double as I'm calling them, that Sisterhood of the Flame,
Stowaway has identified herself as Lucy Miller.
But don't worry, everything's going to be alright.
Oh no, that sounds serious.
I knew it. I knew he would be here.
Doctor? Doctor, say something.
Secure this female.
Run! Lucy, run!
Objective penetration scanning.
Why are you looking for the doctor? What do you think's happened to him?
The less you know, the better for you, Lucy.
Oh, shut up.
How quaint. Well, when I say quaint, I mean utterly barbaric.
Trust no one, Lucy Miller. Something terrible is happening in the universe.
I can tell when it's alive, when it's going wrong, when there's a little hiccup, and when it's dead.
Doctor? Where the hell are you? I miss you. I can't not ever see you again. That'd be rubbish.
and the return of Morbius.
He always did inspire such peculiar loyalty.
Morbius is dead. We all know that, right?
Please! Oh, beg away. Do you think I'm actually going to take any notice?
He was executed by the Time Lords.
Yeah, and when have the Time Lords ever done anything for us?
That lunatic Solon somehow managed to keep hold of his brain, but I could have stopped
what?
him.
No power in the universe can bring him back. And what would you know of Morbius?
Oh, no.
It's the Stellar Manipulator. It's ripping the heart out of the TARDIS.
Come on, we're going to make it. Think positive.
Well, I'm all out of ideas, so positive thought is just about all I've got left.
Look at you. Weak and defenseless, a perfect example of your race.
Roscoe, no!
You're going to bring Morbius back to life.
Get away from me!
Always relying on puny females.
Hey, don't go blaming it on me. It was just a thought from a mere mortal.
You, a mere mortal. Get away with you, Lucy Miller.
Can you hear me?
Zarodnix has a Morbius fixation.
I am Morbius.
Are a great pair of stories, coming in at the standard Big Finish 2-disc length. However, they were released individually, which kind of annoyed me. However, because they're separate events, these stories are very, very separate and can be listened to independently without it affecting the story too much. Morbius himself doesn't turn up until the second story. And the first story is a lot of investigation. Worthy of comment is the casting in this story. In fact, the casting for this entire series, with Art Malik appearing in The Skull of Sobek. The casting and the standard of acting is absolutely superb throughout this whole series. And I do suggest that if you are listening to these on BBC 7, you get all the way through the Morbius story and listen beyond the credits. Very important. Very, very important. We have heard that there will be a third series which has just been announced, with aliens like the Chronoids and a fantastic guest cast. I am so looking forward to this story because in the next year we're going to have a series of, well, a handful of specials on TV. Torchwood is going to last, a week? Sarah Jane Smith will be scattered throughout the year. That series has been commissioned. But we're going to be fairly thin on the ground for Doctor Who. If you feel the need to try something new for Doctor Who, try this. As a whole, this series was great. Well worth investing some time, especially considering that you can listen to them just using a PC. So until next time, when I'll be talking about Battlefield and the wonderful world of Merlin, I'll bid you adieu. Be seeing you. You have been listening to the Tin Dog Podcast. Doctor Who and its associated shows are all trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Contact us at tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk.
I used to be John Pertwee.